The air in the alchemist's archive tasted of burnt copper and desperate ambition. Alicia, 24, and already ruined by poor investments and a fatal family curse, stared at the summoning circle she had painstakingly etched onto the stone floor. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from the urgency of her need. The antidote her mother required demanded the heart petal of a Sylvan, bloom, a component that cost more than Alicia's entire crumbling estate. Logic had failed her. Scholarship had failed her. Now, only forbidden, ancient magic remained. She was about to summon a demon of bargains, a creature known to trade in souls, wishes, and, most terrifyingly, debts. She had studied the texts for months, learning the specific sigils required to bind a lower-tier entity. One powerful enough to grant her request, but theoretically manageable. The final component, a teardrop of solidified starlight, fell into the center of the chalk circle, completing the ritual. The air grew instantly heavy, dropping 10 degrees in a heartbeat. The circle flared a violent amethyst purple. The sound was like 1,000 whispers, screaming in unison. Then abruptly, silence. Lord Kalen, the demon of fleeting contracts, materialized. He did not arrive in fire or smoke, but in a slick, shadow-spun form, perfectly tailored in midnight velvet. His hair was the color of volcanic ash, and his eyes cold, molten gold, fixed immediately on Alicia. He appeared devastatingly human, save for the faint, serrated edges of the shadows that clung to his silhouette like a restless aura. A scholar, trading ink for intent, Kellen's voice was a low, resonant baritone, smooth as polished obsidian. Your summons was precise, little mortal, must be truly desperate. Alicia clutched the ritual dagger, though she knew it was useless against an entity of his caliber. I have no intention of trading my soul, Lord Kalen. I require a transaction, nothing more. Kalen circled the edge of the confinement sigil slowly, his movements unnervingly graceful, like a predatory cat assessing its prey. Souls are gauche, he scoffed, waving a hand dismissively. The paperwork is excessive. I deal in things far more valuable: time, memory, and experience. Alicia swallowed, trying to project a confidence she did not feel. I require the heart petal of a sylvan bloom. I need it by the next full moon. Kalen tilted his head, amused by her directness. A trivial procurement. But the price must be commensurate with the magical exertion required. I have no gold, she admitted, her voice cracking slightly. I have only my knowledge and my remaining life. The demon smiled, a subtle, cold curve of his lips that sent a shiver down her spine. Your life is too long. Knowledge is too niche. I'll take something more interesting. He stepped closer to the barrier, his molten eyes boring into hers. I am preparing for a high-level rite, a covenant of ascendancy, which requires a deep understanding of connection. Connection, Alicia repeated, baffled. A demon needs to understand friendship. Emotions are the currency of your realm, Kalen explained patiently. To ascend, I must quantify them. I require 3 solar days of your absolute, unreserved companionship. He paused for maximum effect. 3 days. You will be my guide, my observer, my sounding board. You'll answer every question honestly, and you will obey every non-lethal, non-physical command. Companionship, Alicia whispered, testing the word. You want to ... spend time with me? In essence, Kalen confirmed, at the end of the 3rd day, I deliver your sylvan bloom petal. I leave, the contract ends. No lingering debt. Short-term deal. The contract seemed ridiculously favorable. Alicia searched for the trap. The only cost was her dignity and 3 days of her time. Agreed, she said, her voice firming. 3 days of unreserved companionship. Kalen didn't hesitate, spoke the binding words in a low, ancient tongue. The chalk circle dissolved in a puff of warm steam, and the demon stood free within the archive. He stepped up to Alicia, his presence overwhelming. He smelled faintly of musk, ozone, and something sharp and metallic like old thunder. The contract is sealed, Kalen stated. We begin now. My first command is simple. I am tired of this dusty archive. Show me where humans find joy. Day 1, the observation. Alicia led him, disbelieving, to the city's central square, bustling with vendors and street performers. Kalen moved like an apex predator disguised as a gentleman, observing every interaction with an unnervingly detached academic rigor. He stopped abruptly before a stall selling brightly colored ribbons. "Why do they exchange fabricated sentiment for currency?" he asked, pointing at a giggling pair of teenagers buying matching charms. Alicia explained, trying to keep her tone academic. A small ritual to signify shared affection. Kaylin bought 2 charms, a tiny silver star and a crescent moon, paying with a heavy gold coin that instantly disintegrated the vendor's confusion. He handed the moon to Alicia. "Declaration recorded," he said flatly, pocketing the star. They spent the afternoon in a quiet public garden. Kaylin commanded her to speak about her life, her failures, her hopes, and the burden of her mother's illness. He sat with perfect stillness, listening intently, occasionally asking cold, penetrating questions that stripped away her defenses and forced her to face brutal truths. "The emotion you call grief," he noted, watching a woman cry over a memorial. "It is an expenditure of energy with no tangible return. Illogical. It's the cost of love," Alicia countered, meeting his golden gaze. The proof that the connection was real. Kaylin stood abruptly. "I require empirical evidence. Command 2. Purchase us a meal." Demonstrate the human concept of comfort food. They ate a simple warm stew in a small tavern. Kalan ate slowly, analytically, analyzing the process of ingestion for pleasure, not just fuel. Alicia found herself relaxing. The demon was a terrifying companion, but his focus on her was absolute, intoxicating in its intensity. She felt truly seen. At the end of day 1, Kaylin returned her to the archive tower. He stood inside the broken circle. "Observation complete. Rest. I require more data tomorrow." Day 2, the test. Kaylin arrived at dawn, cloaked in an air of dangerous excitement. His shadow seemed deeper, more active. "Command 3. Today we will explore the human emotion of ambition and desire," he announced. "We are attending the High Court Gala." The gala was a den of political vipers, exactly the kind of place Alicia had avoided since her family's decline. She felt exposed in her simple gown. Kaylin simply extended his arm. "You are with me," he declared, the confidence in his tone an unbreakable shield. They moved through the crowds. Kaylin, magnificent and radiating subtle power, commanded the room. Whispers followed them, not of fear, but of fascination. He forced Alicia to confront Lord Alistair, the man responsible for her family's financial ruin. "Demonstrate revenge," Kaylin ordered softly, his breath against her ear, making her shiver. Alicia froze. She couldn't act. She saw the fear in Alistair's eyes, fear caused by her proximity to Kaylin, and she found no satisfaction in it. "I don't want revenge," she admitted, looking up at Kaylin. "I want peace. I want my mother." "Well?" Kaylin's golden eyes narrowed slightly, a spark of something almost like confusion crossing his face. "It's an illogical response. Emotional debt should demand repayment." Later, Kaylin pulled her onto the dance floor. This was his first physical command, and it was entirely unexpected. They moved with a strange, compelling rhythm. His touch was cool and steady, yet the closeness was a fiery, illicit warmth. "You have pity for the man who ruined you. You possess love for your dying parent," Kaylin analyzed, his voice low, private. "What is this new emotion, Lady Alchemist?" Alicia's heart hammered against her ribs. She couldn't tell him it was desire, a profound, reckless longing for the creature holding her. "It is the fear of losing what I never had," she managed, avoiding the truth. He guided her off the floor, his grip firm. The demon was no longer merely observing. It was actively testing the limits of her human will. As the night ended, Kaylin paused by the moonlit railing of the balcony. "I understand ambition, I understand grief, but I cannot grasp this hope you cling to." He was closer now, dangerously so. The shadows around him seemed to soften, blending with the normal night. "Hope is believing that the sun will rise, even when you're in the deepest pit," Alicia told him, her voice barely a breath. Kaylin reached out and touched her cheek with the back of his hand. His skin was smooth and cool, but his gaze was scorching. "I am the pit, little son, and I always take a price." Day 3, the climax. The final day began with Kaylin delivering the sylvan bloom petal. It was pristine, still pulsing with faint forest magic. "The transaction is fulfilled," Kaylin announced, placing the petal in a glass vial on her desk. "All that remains is the conclusion of the contract." He commanded her to sit with him, back in the quiet solemnity of the archive. He asked her to simply feel as he recorded his final data points. Alicia felt overwhelming sadness. 3 days had warped her perception. She had expected to fear him, to resist him, but she had instead found a devastating kinship. She realized she had fallen for the cold, analytical creature, the one who saw her not as a woman, but as a fascinating scientific specimen. "What is the primary factor in sacrifice?" Kalen asked, looking through her, not at her, consulting his invisible notes. "It is the choice to value another's well-being above your own debt," Elysia replied, the answer aching in her throat. Kalen nodded, satisfied. He had his data. He had experienced the full spectrum of human connection through her proximity. He stood up, the shadows around him deepening, preparing for the shift back to the nether realms. "The contract is complete. Thank you for your service, Elysia." Elysia rose too, her face a mask of enforced calm. "Ah, may your covenant of ascendancy be successful, Lord Kalen," she watched, devastated. As the air began to shimmer around him, the telltale sign of a dimensional tear opening. But as the tear widened, Kalen stumbled, a sharp gasp escaping his lips. The shadows recoiled, and the gateway snapped shut instantly. He looked down at his own hand, his expression a mixture of confusion and profound horror. "What is this?" he demanded, his voice now ragged. A faint, almost invisible thread of gold light had wrapped itself around his wrist, binding him gently to the archive floor. "The contract," Elysia whispered, stepping closer. The terms were 3 days of absolute, unreserved companionship. Kalen searched his demonic contract code. The truth hit him like a physical blow. The terms were supposed to be transactional. "I recorded your data. I paid the price," he insisted, his golden eyes wide with genuine panic. "Demons do not panic easily." "You did, Elysia," agreed softly. "But in the process, you did not just observe connection, Lord Kalen. You created it. Impossible. I am a creature of pure, cold intent," he thundered. But the golden thread tightened, pulling him slightly closer to her. The contract demanded my unreserved companionship," Elysia explained, her voice gaining strength. "That included my growing affection for you. My compensation for your service was the emotional data," Kalen argued, clutching his head. "My end of the deal was purely intellectual." "But your interaction caused an unforeseen consequence," Elysia countered. "You now owe me a debt not of time, but of reciprocation." She pointed to the glowing thread. "The contract cannot be dissolved until all debt is neutralized. You have taken my affection, and you have not returned it." Kellen's magnificent posture slumped slightly. He, the master of contracts, had been undone by the one variable he could not quantify: genuine human love. He stared at her, the golden light of the binding reflecting in his eyes. He could destroy the thread, but the resulting rupture would send him back to the netherrealm severely weakened. He took a slow, deliberate breath, the scent of ozone strong in the archive. He was trapped. But he was also ... intrigued. "A new contract, then," he stated, his voice returning to its smooth obsidian tone, only now laced with a tremor of acceptance. "A long-term deal. What are the terms?" Elysia asked, hope rising within her like a tide. "The price is the same. Unreserved companionship," Kalen said, stepping fully out of the shadows and into the sliver of sunlight streaming through the window. He looked entirely human now, his shadow resting peacefully at his feet. "But this time, I intend to fulfill my new debt by giving you my own unreserved companionship in return." He took her hand, his touch still cool but now undeniably possessive. "I will stay in this realm. I will learn what this connection is." Elysia smiled, a genuine, relieved smile that made her look years younger. "Then the debt is paid." The golden thread dissolved, but Kalen did not move. The short-term deal was over. The partnership, however, had just begun. He leaned down, and this time, the kiss tasted not of cold contract, but of curious, burning promise, a fusion of the human and the demon, bound by a beautifully flawed bargain. Alicia's mother, miles away, would live. And Elysia, the ruined scholar, had secured not a component, but a creature of power, all through the terrifying logic of the heart. We hope you enjoyed the demon's short-term deal. What human emotion do you think Kalen will study next? Let us know in the comments. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio.